Welcome to this webinar on the topic, which is the hottest topic of the industry right now, which is 5G, as India embarks on the 5G journey with rollout across and one of the quickest in the world right now, as we transition from 4G to 5G. And this opens up plethora of opportunities, not only for operators, but for the entire ecosystem, including enterprises, government, as well as boosting the economy. So we'll discuss today what is the 5G vision we have, and how we are embarking on the journey, and which are the different areas of opportunities for as an ecosystem, as a country, for India to cash in on the 5G architecture and 5G promise, what we are seeing here. So today we have a great set of panel members over here to discuss the 5G vision for India. First and foremost, Mr. Rajesh Pathak, DDG from Department of Telecommunications, Mrs. Satkeerthi Muralidharan, CTO of Airtel Business, Mr. Farooq Ahmed, who leads medical engineering special initiatives at Apollo Hospitals Enterprises, and Dr. Thiaw Seng, Head of Network Solutions in Southeast Asia market and Oceania in India for Ericsson. I welcome you all to start this discussion on the 5G vision for India. Thank you very much. So on this particular topic, what I would like to do today is split it into two sections. The first section would be, let's discuss about, and I would like to know your expert opinion on how the 5G rollout has been and how the infrastructure is being designed, unlike compared to 4G, how it is going to benefit beyond the consumer and into different verticals and industries. Maybe we can start with Dr. Seng.
Yep, I think thanks for the invite, right? So if you look at the today's the 5G deployment, right? And back to the question, how does it actually difference from the 4G, and how is it being sort of rolled out to benefit probably the B2B segment or even the private network, right? So if you look at how operators actually deploy 5G, they are mainly focused on the eMBB and also the FWA as a main use case that is actually deployed widely globally, right? And for FWA, we actually see a very strong growth of 36% for the past 2 years in terms of number of operators actually launched with fixed wireless access, right? And to address the consumer market, right? However, we also see that operators start to address the B2B segment with FWA, right? Where we actually see one operators in Australia that actually offer FWA to a construction site that, because there's no fiber there, then they install together with the security cameras, offer a certain quality of service and SLA, right? So it's an extension of FWA from addressing to the consumer towards the B2B market, right? But then when it comes to the B2B segment, of course, 5G is able to guarantee certain quality of service with network slicing, right? So there are a few options to provide connectivity, and private network is one of the choice, right? So the more straightforward is operator actually offer a network slice to have some guaranteed QoS. For example, the Taiwanese operator actually offer a slice to the police department to have cameras installed on the police car. Whenever the police car go, is actually do a live streaming for car plate detection and to detect the stolen car, right? So these are some of the example that operator can actually very quickly introduce a slice to the sort of the private sector, and to offer quality of service to execute certain use cases, right? And for Ericsson, we have our own factory also, and we actually deploy the private network with the low latency 5G connectivity. We can do many use cases like the AR, VR, remote troubleshooting. So all these use cases actually are being enabled by the 5G network.
So those are some great use cases, B2B use cases, which we haven't thought about much in the 4G era, right? Which has changed in 5G era. So now my question is for Mrs. Muralidharan, how Airtel is, to the first part of our discussion, how Airtel is driving in terms of infrastructure to cash in on all these different use cases. It's not just about 5G, right? It's more to that.
Yeah, I think Airtel, since it's a service provider which provides B2C and B2B, it's more about enhancing our coverage footprint. I think the journey for us has just not started when we launched 5G services on 1st of October last year, but it has been 1 year of complete planning, and even before the spectrum, even before the auction of the spectrum, etc. We've been working as to what would be our strategy around 5G, and because we were very clear that it was important for us to be ahead of the curve, and what would 5G bring on to the industry per se. And so there was a lot of testing, a lot of analysis strategy that we've worked out on. And I think from the day go we started on 1st of October, there's been not stopping back. So I think we've gone ahead with a dual approach. One is just not to go and look about bombarding every single city completely and then keep expanding as we go. So I think today our presence is across 3,000 plus cities, and we have close to about 35,000 towers that we've already live on 5G. And it has been a strategy where we will just not do urban, we will also do, partially, tier 2, tier 3, etc. Because this will give us an opportunity on our use cases that we're talking about in terms of B2B too. I mean, though I'm the B2B CTO at this point of time, but I come with a lot of B2C experience also. And in that context, it's just like, I heard, Mr. Dr. Seng saying about FWA. I mean, so we're more or less ready. We have done our testing, and, we're very clearly, FW is one key lever that we will be using to sort of get into the entire B2B customers and how we provide as a solution. And that it actually give us the benefit, because today, if you talk about what is it different from 4G, because there are a lot of solutions that are already available on 4G in terms of reach. India, in terms of the mobile reach, is literally there everywhere, barring, deep remote that probably because of terrain or our fiber not being available is something that we've not been able to cover. So the strategy around 5G has just not been, in terms of going back to deployment, has been to ensure that, our transport was ready way ahead of time. And then we ensure that as and when we kept launching, the required capacity that is required for us to radiate would be available in our transport network. So that's the aspect that we're looking at it, to answer your first question. The second question is, like I said, the use cases is something that last 8 months, I think we've spoken enough about it. And more than anything else, basis the industry readiness, we're ready for anything that comes our way.
Talking about the 5G readiness, so spectrum is one thing, infrastructure is one thing. You said backhaul is important, transport is really important. But at the same time, there are other technologies, right, which are also important, which go hand in hand, like cloud, as well as AI. And I think Airtel is doing a lot of work in that, because it's, as you said, it's a solution. It's not just a data plan which you're selling, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's where I'm coming in from. I mean, I didn't sort of claim. Today for us, FWA is something that we're really concentrating, and we've already gone and done a lot of use cases. I mean, starting from being a connected ambulance or an agricultural use case, or most of the industry 4.0 that we're talking about today. We are ready in parlance. But I think where we're picking up is two different streams on 5G that we're seeing immediate, interest that is coming in from the industry is one on FWA, because yes, it's easy for us to connect. And that's something we're driving. And second is on terms of our private networks. So while 5G does give us basis, whichever architecture that we use, SA or NSA, it still gives us an opportunity to slice and give what the customer wants. So private networks is something that we're exploring. We've had two different, while we did a lot of POCs over the last 1 year, but we're officially trying to do a lot of testing with a couple of our customers at this point of time. We're yet to go live, but we are deploying the private networks across, which will give us a use case that we can sort of use as a product and upsell way going forward. Because there has been a lot of ambiguity around private networks, because most of them have not seen commercial gain around it across the globe also. But I think one difference that we're seeing in India is it started a little late, but people are seeing some benefit that's coming out of it. It could be private network with a 4G combination or a 5G combination that's there, be it dedicated core or shared core. But I think slowly there is adoption that's happening, and we should see it actually kick off the coming year that's happening at the same.
That is great to hear. So maybe I move to Mr. Pathak from DoT. So as a government body, right, planning the entire 5G roadmap for India as an enterprise, right? How do you foresee when you work with different operators and infrastructure vendors in terms of policy, regulation, in terms of planning the entire roadmap with respect to when would be the real inflection point for the Indian enterprise where they could benefit from 5G? So can you talk about your role and how you are enabling this?
We started working on this making India 5G ready with a document that came as a 5G high-level forum recommendations. And there are so many things important. One have been the spectrum, regulatory policies, consistent participation in international bodies, and development of application layer standards. And the country has now seen that with the help of operator and entire ecosystems, we came up with the spectrum policy, which I think we made available sufficient spectrum for the operators. And after the successful this spectrum auction, we rolled out our services from the 1st October 2022. But what is more important that before rolling out, we did a lot of work, and very important one can say have been the regulation part. So regulations, one can say that aligning the right of way policies of central government with the state governments, and the policies on how we place our this small cells. So one can say the street furniture part, build amendments in the building code, and more so that even we have brought all the ROWs and other things on a portal. So, and this efforts is all continuous process. It's not say that we have done and that's why we are sitting. So we are working with the not only telcos but infrastructure providers also, and state government, and so many webinars, one-to-one meetings at different levels are being hosted, such that I think we bring same others also on the same platform. Because there is a first thing that one has to realize that in India, the telecom infrastructure has gone ahead with as compared to physical infrastructure. So I think here we have to place a lot of efforts that how we can get maximum out of this. So that's what I'm saying. Department of Telecommunications came with so many regulations to promote the regulatory environment within the country. And as I think ma'am told, that we first did the trials with all the TSPs, and we brought together the use case, and we have a lot of experience during that process. And then only we went for the final rollout. As far as potential use cases are concerned, it says that though it's not killer applications, but we all aware of that it will be very useful for smart industries, whether that is starting with the predictive maintenance or facility assessment and smart machinery, smart safety. And already some deployment has been done in India by telcos as well as private companies. Smart city is one another important area, smart building, smart utility. So I think a lot of efforts right now going on smart utility part, like smart electric meters, smart gas meters, smart water meters. And smart agriculture and environment is such a subject that also being discussed, that with the help of we are working on the drone part also. And naturally the smart consumer, that where we have the variables, health tracking and consumer electronics. But what is more important, if you ask the role of DoT, that for the first time, Department of Telecommunications have announced their plan for setting up of 100 use case labs or test labs in different engineering colleges. So I think we'll be just creating an infrastructure across the countries to work on 5G, 5G advanced, and naturally, it's not just 5G, but entire related technology. So whatever you are referring to. And this liberty we are giving to engineering institutions. We are funding startups, MSMEs, academia, and in the first time, we have one scheme called Digital Communication Innovation Square, in which DoT has funded 126 startups, MSMEs, and more than 110 crores. And that's it's just for direct to companies, not to any other institutions. So this has been, and we have developed now 4G as well as 5G. So there has been a lot of development in 5G, especially enterprise. We are ready. So they are ready for the pilot trials. So naturally, TSP has a big role to play as a brother to handhold them in the trials. And applications part also, as ma'am told, that I think we have health. So many companies are coming that in rural areas you place those machines. We call someone calls them ATM or something like that, and then you integrate with the cities. And there is another scheme of funding that is called TTDF, Telecom Technology Development Fund, where we have made available about 500 crores per annum from USOF. So as far as initiatives of DoT are concerned, we are working with the stakeholders for not only just rolling out the services by TSPs, but handholding them or working with the infrastructure providers just for the rollout, this right of way obligations, etc. And same time, how can we develop more and more, not only the infrastructure or access and others, but applications and use case also. And we are promoting them even in the internal and external place like Mobile World Congress or India Telecom and India Mobile Congress.
Awesome. Thanks. That's a very comprehensive summary and a lot of initiatives we are seeing from the government, from DoT. And one common theme which I can sense from everyone here is ecosystem. Everyone is not just talking about operators or service providers, but it's all about ecosystem. That is fantastic. So talking about ecosystem, another important player in 5G, another important part of the value chain are enterprises. So we have Mr. Farooq Ahmed, who is leading Apollo Hospitals, engineering and special initiatives. So talking about all these use cases, and you mentioned healthcare, right? Smart consumer. So hospitals, healthcare is one of the most important backbone of any economy. So, Mr. Farooq, if you can talk about how 5G is going to enable for smart healthcare in future.
So when we talk about enabling 5G in healthcare, as we speak, we already started working on it, and there are several use cases that have been in plan and I would say on our roadmap. Starting with the connected ambulance solution, which we last year tested along with Airtel. We collaborated with Airtel and did a successful pilot. So connected ambulance is a solution which actually is one of the best use cases in using where the 5G leverage can be done. It is because during an emergency, the first 60 minutes is called the golden hour, and pre-hospital care during that period is most crucial. And imagine a scenario where an accident occurs and the patient is in the ambulance. It's taking the ambulance is approaching towards the hospital. The critical patient who is critically injured or patient who has got a stroke or a cardiac arrest needs a very urgent attention from the experts. The emergency physicians can't be available in all the ambulances. So this solution actually enables, it's like making virtually these doctors available in the ambulance. Their presence will be in the ambulance. So when these doctors, when they are in the command center, they connect seamless to the emergency technician and understand the actual picture of what is happening in the ambulance. They get real-time vitals of the patients. They get a high-resolution live feed of the ambulance, so they can guide the ambulance technician in a better way. And while the ambulance is in transit, all the preparations that are required at the hospital end can be done. So that saves time, and better diagnosis and treatment can be done once the patient reaches the hospital. This is one of the best use cases we have tried. So HealthLed Global is Apollo's technology wing, which has now, we have recently tested it and developed a solution. Soon we will be scaling this to over 600 ambulances. The connected ambulance will be scaled to over 600 ambulances across country, which already a couple of ambulances are already upgraded with this solution, and soon we'll be doing an official launch as well. So this is about one use case. Apart from that, we recently, along with Airtel itself, we tested one more use case, which was again very interesting. It was 5G driven AI-guided colonoscopy procedure, where the real-time edge computing happens and the analysis of analysis will be happen, and we get outcomes real-time while the doctor is performing that procedure. So these are a couple of use cases we already tested, and there are several use cases we have been, trying to work on, design, develop, customize the solutions as per our needs. So private 5G is another use case, which along with Jio, we are working for enablement in a couple of our hospitals. So private 5G will definitely bring a lot of automations into the hospital. Private 5G will be more reliable, more secured. And we are working on towards one program called Comprehensive Connected Care, which means patient remains connected wherever he is, whether the patient is in ambulance, whether the patient is in ICU, or the patient is in ward or room, or even he gets discharged after the surgery and goes home. Even then, he remains connected for a few days for proper monitoring and diagnosis. So we call this program as Comprehensive Connected Care, where the ambulance which is connected will be monitored from a centralized command center. The ICUs are being monitored from a centralized command center. When the patient is in ward, his vitals are being captured with the help of IoT devices. His vitals are being captured, and they can be real-time monitored by doctors from their mobile phones. They can be monitored from a nursing station as well. There are various layers of monitoring. So all this connected care requires a better and reliable connectivity, and that is when the need for 5G comes. So 5G definitely is going to be a game changer in healthcare, in delivering the way healthcare is currently.
Moving on to the second part. So anyways, you guys touched upon a lot of use cases, 5G use cases. So maybe I can go back to Dr. Seng. So since you have talked about a lot of use cases, with FWA being one of the killer use cases, low-hanging opportunity for the entire operator community to bridge the digital divide, right? What other opportunities you are seeing, which also can drive a lot of good ROI and also aligns with all the 5G capabilities, which like low latency, higher capacity, bandwidth, which comes across and you see fit for India market?
This is a very good question, right? I probably comment based on the global perspective first, right? If you look at how many 5G network launched today, there are more than 230 sort of 5G network launch, right? And Ericsson has the presence on 145 of them, right? So there's a lot of learning from this network that I can share some learning, right? So the most important is operator is driving the 5G adoption, which is the most important, right? That is actually a focus on the consumer's smartphone segment, right? because the 5G will actually provide the lower cost per gigabyte at the same time driving the user experience and giving a better speed, right? So use cases like cloud gaming and the one I mentioned before, FWA, and also this multi-camera view on the sports event or some celebrities event has been gaining a lot of traction, right? As the 5G will provide much higher speed and also lower latency to deliver the better experience. And also we see actually CSP offering different packages to capture the revenue, right? Specifically for FWA is actually a great potential in India, right? Since the home broadband penetration in India is still quite low, it's around 10 to 15%. And CSP actually can offer FWA to address the segment that is unconnected and also replacing the DSL. In most of the country, they're trying to replace the DSL by providing a higher speed and also address the SME segment by providing the connectivity, right? And not only that, but add-on service like securities and SD-WAN type of functionality to add more values to the offering, right? And the other sort of a use case is AR/VR is now is getting more affordable now, and we actually see it being used in different consumer segment, right? Operators actually offer the AR/VR sort of glasses to watch together in a sports event, right? You can see it starting in India also. And in addition, this AR/VR also used in different segments like manufacturing, the education to enhance the learning and also reduce the travel costs for training, right? For example, Ericsson actually in fact implement the 5G in our own factory, and we leveraged on the 5G capability to run the AR/VR headset for remote troubleshooting. So for example, the local engineer actually can wear the AR/VR glasses with a camera. Then the expert in the headquarters actually can see the problem through the cameras, and the experts actually can guide the local engineers through the AR superimposed into a headset of the local engineer, right, on the exact spot to troubleshoot the equipment, right? So this will actually improve the time to troubleshoot and also save the travel costs, right, rather than to fly in to do the troubleshooting, right? So I would say that eMBB and FWA is definitely the main sort of mainstream now. And top of it, AR/VR to be sort of used in different segments. We actually see it is actually accelerating. Yeah.
Mr. Farooq.
As of now, we are starting with enabling infrastructure in from the private 5G point of view. So far, the infrastructure is not set up yet into the hospitals. But yes, as I said, in the ambulances, this is in progress already. A couple of ambulances done. But otherwise, in the hospital, private 5G is the first initiative that we are planning to initiate with, and that probably maybe in another 6 months we will have few hospitals ready with private 5G network. So with private 5G, this connected care program can be addressed, and a lot of automations and productivity can be more when we have this seamless connectivity and reliable connectivity within the hospital. So that's what is the plan to start with.
Maybe Muralidharan, I can go to you and ask about, since you touched upon network slicing. So I know there is a transition from 5G NSA to SA, and industry is moving towards that. So most of the benefits, I think, for network slicing will come through 5G SA. But how do you see in like private networks, what kind of applications you are envisioning where you put power in different industries or verticals with network slicing or 5G SA?
I think the two things that we need to see is today, what the industry demands is basically across 4 big lines of industry. One is your healthcare, second is your agriculture, third is largely your manufacturing industry in terms of auto, and fourth is probably a mix of private networks, largely built around ports, etc. that is there. But this is where we are seeing all our use cases moving across, and warehouses, etc. will be somewhere along these 4 major verticals, or where we are seeing 5G actually look at it. And if you really look at it, when we talk about 5G, I think we need to understand, I mean, considering B2B is going to be a key driver across for 5G, we have to look at four rather pillars of how any kind of industry will look at 5G. One is the fact that it's simple connectivity, right? So, and then IoT, third is analysis, and then four is basically analytics, and then fourth is your entire data lake that we're talking about. With this four things that are going to be playing, etc. See, as a telecom operator, we can definitely provide one IoT, and second is in terms of connectivity. But the analytics and what comes in terms of the data lake that's there are huge opportunities that we can do. I mean, Sen also mentioned about the fact that, we have so many use cases around secure meters, water meters that we just heard, even Mr. Rajesh Pathak talking about it. Today, that's the opportunity or the size of the market that we're looking at, right? Because our use cases have been across all these four big industries that we're talking about, and sort of pivoting across these four pillars that I just spoke about. So in terms of slicing, I think, see, today, even in NSA, we can still do it because we have the spectrum that's available to us in a small size segment. But ideally, today, we have not yet seen an opportunity for us to do it, because with NSA, I'm able to drive a far better user experience on 5G today. I mean, if you're looking at it in terms of IPL or anything like that, where we talk about low latency and concurrency that's coming in, our 5G B2C customers are also able to get that required experience. So, we do see that gaming is actually picking up on 5G, and we see the use cases that's coming, and even the payload is coming across all those things. So while it is too small and we may not be able, as an industry, we still believe, okay, B2B is the one to go. But I think you are seeing 5G is actually also a fancy word, right? Everybody loves to be on the bandwagon that we're talking about. So it's just it's a fab statement to have, and then it's literally some kind of a fashion statement that you have, and you're running on this. And today, so you see young kids and, even young adults who are basically looking at one gaming that's picking up in terms of the B2C case scenario. And with, we also are seeing use cases wherein we need to have concurrent users with the required throughputs that we have, and 5G is playing a big game around it. And this has only enabled us with the kind of connectivity or coverage that we've been able to provide so quickly, so fast, that's there on this. But I think going forward, while, I know the question that you asked was about mostly in terms of slicing, it's available. I know a lot of people have come and asked us. We have our ITS sectors also have been talking about slicing to us. But we've been, I think it is a little gray at this point of time because the requirements are very vast. So picking up or anything, we're very clear saying that, yes, it is available for us to pick it up, but then we need to have very clear use cases and, what is it that is in for that application or that customer of ours, and then we can obviously build on it. So the answer to your question is there is a possibility to, it all depends on the use case and application that comes in, because like I said, everybody's interested in to come and join the bandwagon. So we're just exploring. There's no dearth of use cases that's happening, and there's no dearth of us going and doing POCs on the same.
I'll move to Mr. Rajesh Pathak. So we have seen across some of the countries globe where the regulators have opened up the spectrum for enterprises, for different companies other than mobile operators. So what is your view on that? Do you see that as a possibility as we move in future generations? And some system integrators also come into play with spectrum.
Thank you for this question, but I think presently I cannot, as a DoT representative, answer this question.
Okay.
Because I think we came up with our guidelines for this private captive network as well, same time.
Yeah.
So there is no other proposals right now under the consideration. But however, that's what I'm saying. Your question was basically that what 5G can offer to naturally TSPs and as a user experience. So as a country, we are making available, like you may be knowing, that production link incentive scheme, under which most of the equipments required for 5G, not just the core and RAN, but even user equipment, including the FWA also we have developed. So those will be manufactured within the country. And as a government, what is my expectation that we do certain use cases in India and take it to the world, because is the 5G is being deployed across the world same time. If our startups can play a role and they survive at least in a market like India and they sell their product in India, then definitely they have a lot of potential to go to the global audience as well. So DoT would like to make them, one can say, a national champion as well as make them the global. So with these themes, we are taking all the actions required. And spectrum part, I would like to say one thing, that we made available spectrum for the R&D. So that is the one effort by Department of Telecommunications, that you just pay 5,000 and you get the spectrum for trials, even in lab environment, indoor environment. It's just you simply submit the applications and you just get the approvals. So there is no, one can say, approval required. In case of manufacturing also, it's very simplified process, including trials. So I think we are taking all those actions which are required for making available the right environment ecosystem for the development of technology, use case, applications, standards within the country.
That was a very good summary. So maybe moving forward, a little bit of rapid fire, which I always do in a lot of panels. So what is one of the closest to your heart use case which you feel 5G will be benefiting and should benefit from India perspective? Which is the top use case in your mind?
For me, it's the connected ambulance.
Connected ambulance. Okay, great.
Yes.
Because
I think the country needs healthcare to be spreading across, and it's important.
For me also, I think it's the healthcare, because I would like to take the entire my India, we call it Bharat. So rural India, how a person sitting in the village can get the best facility with the use of technology. And secondly, naturally, education also. We have seen the students struggling during the pandemic. And even there is a lack of teachers, qualified teachers in the rural areas. I belong to the rural village, so I know the pain. So if the technology can solve that problems, that how can we make available with the help of this 5G or connected technologies, related technologies, the best lab teaching material available in the rural India as well. Even engineering colleges and medical colleges, I think this 5G has a lot to do.
Great. Dr. Seng, what is your best use case, which is closer to your heart, and you, from India perspective, where 5G could disrupt?
Yeah, I think for India perspective, we actually do some study, right? That there are sort of 5 segments: manufacturing, the healthcare, the energy and utilities, the automotive, and also the public safety are the top 5 sort of.
If I had to ask you to pick one, which is you feel is ideal for India.
I agree with the panelists. I think the healthcare segment is actually my top one, right? Yeah. Awesome. I think the rest is not too critical to implement first, but the healthcare, it can actually show the immediate impact to the people. Yeah.
Mr. Farooq.
So definitely connected ambulance is one of the most interesting use case, but I would like to touch upon a couple of use cases which I have been thinking of doing testing and understanding whether it is going to add value to the healthcare. So basically a couple of use cases. One use case I would say in the Indian scenario, we are managing teleclinics in the remotest parts of the India. Okay, so there in the teleclinics, the patient comes there. There's a huge scarcity of doctors in the rural locations. There are no doctors available there. To address that, we connect them to the doctors from the city in Hyderabad over a video call. Okay, that's in the current scenario. But I think with 5G, we may be able to bridge the gap even better way. We can have high resolution video calls, data transfer, vitals monitoring, real-time vitals monitoring from the rural locations, and real-time, even integrating or involving AI into that will be, will add more value to the patient treatment. But one use case which I, kind of thinking and working with Geo to test is, right now the video consultations happen between a patient and doctor on a normal video call, like how we are having now. So let's say if we use virtual reality virtual reality and augmented reality in using the 5G, maybe we can make a patient sitting in a remote place, wear a headset, a VR headset, make him feel like he is actually in front of a doctor. Right now, they just see the doctor on a TV screen. But if you give him a VR headset and do a real time, streaming, live streaming with the help of a headset, I think patient will feel like he's actually sitting in front of doctor, which generally doesn't happen. They don't interact. They only interact on a video call. So that's one of the unique use cases which I'm actually working towards testing it. A couple more use cases are there. Again, with respect to the AR VR only. There are patients who get hospitalized for a longer duration in our hospitals. Patients who undergo major surgeries, patients who are getting treated for cancer, many other patients. Like they stay in hospital for a longer duration, and nobody wants to stay longer in hospital, right? So they want to go home early. They keep missing their loved ones, family members, and all. So I'm actually working towards testing one use case where a 360 camera is placed at a patient house. Okay, and then giving a VR headset to the patient who is in the hospital, make him feel he is actually staying in his, whenever, of course, 360, he cannot wear that 24/7 the whole day, but whenever he wants to, he can interact. He wants to interact with the loved ones, his family members. He can just wear a headset and feel like he's actually, virtually is at his home. He can just turn around, see all his room, his house, he can interact with them. So that's another one of use case. I'm actually trying to test it out, do a POC, along with Geo and some of the other, application providers.
Perfect panel. Everyone is aligned from ecosystem perspective, use case perspective, and the entire vision where India is going to expand on this 5G journey. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Great conversation.